Anyway, if you guys have your bulletins, go ahead and turn to the back page. And do I have someone who'd like to volunteer to be the reader? Hannah 4. She's the guest. Coming up here. Yeah.
You don't do that to a guest.
We do. That's what we do to guests here because everyone else has had a turn. Everyone clap for Hannah 4. She's going to read for us. Just read the first paragraph.
My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friend. You are my friends because you do what I command. I no longer call you servants because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends, for everything that I learned from my Father I have made known to you.
Tonight I want to talk about friendship because our culture, I don't think, places a very high value on friendship, or at least they don't get that. They don't get friendship exactly right. Our culture is very interested in, our culture loves the love, but our culture is interested in like sexual love or physical attraction. And I was trying to think of like movies or, plays or whatever. Like you have all these songs about the girl you love or the guy you love or whatever, but there's very few songs about friendship. And I'm trying to think of movies about friendship. Only ones I could really think of were like Toy Story. Friendship's the major theme in Toy Story, and Lord of the Rings. That's like one series that's all about friendship. But if you look at or Hannah Montana, that one I forgot about Hannah Montana. But even if you watch Lord of the Rings, they have like the romantic story in it. Whereas if you go and you look in the book, and I did read the books a year or two ago, the love story in the books is like maybe the books are like over 1,000 pages long altogether, and there's only like one page of love story in all those 1,000 pages, and the rest of it's about friendship. And in the movie, they have to make it a bigger deal. But anyway, that kind of shows what our culture is like. It cares about the love and that aspect of love, but friendship love, that's something that's lost on a lot of us. And what's probably the closest friendship in the Bible that you guys could think of? Yes. What'd you say? Benjamin and Jonathan? Well, I was thinking of Jonathan and David. You guys know Jonathan and David in the Bible. And it is said that they had such a close friendship that it said David loved Jonathan more than he loved any woman. It said that, and their culture was different too. Like the guys would kiss each other and stuff in their culture, which to us, we hear that and we think that sounds gay. And that's what our culture interprets that kind of thing. But to them, like that was just an expression of it wasn't like how guys and girls kiss, but it was, anyway, we won't dwell on it too much. But friendship is a beautiful thing, and our culture misinterprets it and doesn't understand it so well. And I was reading an article a couple days ago about a guy. He said that he's really close with his best friend, but everyone thinks they're gay because the culture doesn't know how to see two guys who are just really close friends. So anyway, tonight I wanted to look at what Jesus and the rest of the Bible says about friendship and look at how to be a good friend, how to find a good friend, which is just as important, I think, and also who ultimately your best friend is. And so we're going to start with how to be a good friend. And I'm not going to start with the verses that Hannah read. I want those to be in the back of your mind because we're going to come back to those later. But how to be a good friend. There's some verses in Proverbs that I think really help us out with this. A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. A man of many companions may come to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. Proverbs gives general rules that if you live your life by the rules that are in Proverbs, you're going to be successful. You're going to live a really good life if you follow what Proverbs says. And Proverbs tells us that you will be a really successful and happy person if you can be a good friend and choose good friends. And there's lots of things we could look at, lots of qualities of how to be a good friend, but I picked 3 for tonight: constancy, candor, and counsel. Constancy means that you're always there for your friends. A friend doesn't just care about people because of how useful they are. Like, I've got someone who calls me whenever he needs something, but he doesn't call me whenever, just to talk about what's going on in life or whatever. he only sees me as someone like, oh, I'm stuck with this, this problem here and I need your help to get out of it. And he'll call me for that. And it's funny because he'll call me and he'll say, hey, how you been? Haven't talked to you in a while. And then he'll always jump in really quickly to whatever he really wants to talk about. But a true friend does not care about people just because of what you can get from them, whatever their usefulness is. And it says in Proverbs, a friend is there at all times. It says a brother is born for adversity. Here's the difference in friends and family. And you guys know that you choose your friends. Your family is who you're born with. And your family will love you. They'll be there for you whenever you get into trouble. But, your family doesn't always have to like you. You know what I mean? Because you didn't always choose your family. And a friend is there for you in the adversity. They're there for you in the rest of your life, too. And that's why it says a friend sticks closer than a brother. So a friend sticks around. If you want to be a good friend, you have to be dependable. You have to have that constancy. We have Facebook lists, and I think Facebook is really deceptive because if I look at my Facebook, it says that I have 250 friends. But really, I cannot, if I tried to sit down and write a list of all my friends, I could not think of 250 people. Facebook calls them friends, but they're not really friends. You know what I mean? A smart person, according, again, to Proverbs, it says a smart person is going to focus on a few people that you can really trust and not, where it says a man of many companions may come to ruin, but it's really smart to focus on just the few people that you can trust. Another quality of being a good friend, candor. It says in Proverbs, wounds from a friend can be trusted, but an enemy multiplies kisses. That's Proverbs 27:6. So look at the parallel. Wounds from a friend can be trusted, an enemy multiplies kisses. So you have friendly wounds or you have wounding kisses. What does that tell us? If you don't tell your friend whenever they have a weakness or something that's holding them back, you're not being a good friend. One time I had this friend and he had problems. He had social problems. He could not control himself saying inappropriate things a lot. I mean, he could. He had the physical ability to, but he didn't have the sense to keep his mouth shut. So I tried to talk to him about that one time. I wasn't trying to be, mean to him. I wasn't trying to make him feel bad. And I thought that as a good friend, I should tell him, sometimes you're saying things that are going to get you into trouble later. They're getting you into trouble now. That's what a good friend is supposed to do. You shouldn't say, oh, yeah, Bob has a drinking problem, but, he's a lot of fun to be around, and I want Bob to like me, so, I'm not going to bring that up with him. A true friend is going to help Bob if he has a drinking problem, okay? They're not... What was it?
We're 16.
Well, sometimes some 16-year-olds do have friends with drinking problems, and it might not be you guys in here, but I'm also preparing you for later in life. If you're a real friend, okay, it's not going to be fun to say the tough words. When you have to have a tough conversation with somebody, that's not supposed to be easy for you. You're not supposed to say, you are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity, like Buzz Lightyear did. But also, you're not going to be the guy who says, I don't like confrontations, and you're afraid to talk to someone whenever there's something they need to talk to him about. You're not going to hold back from being truthful, but you're not going to be too harsh in the truth that you share. And that kind of brings me to the next thing, counsel. It also says in Proverbs, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. Okay? A lot of different ways we could apply this, but one way, counsel. Counsel is like giving advice. Okay? It's not just sitting there and venting. You're not sitting here and you're like, oh, I'm just going to tell, I'm going to get everything off my chest and tell so-and-so everything that's wrong with them. You're doing it wrong if you have that attitude. Counsel is giving advice in a way that's like open and transparent. Like whenever Woody says, you are a toy, Woody is a toy too. Okay, he's not trying to make Buzz feel bad about himself. He's trying to make Buzz realize that he's got something wrong about how he sees the world. But anyway, not everyone takes advice well, but there is a way to give advice to someone in a way that's encouraging and doesn't just tear them down. So those are just a few ways to be a good friend. But how do you pick a good friend? Because that's also just as important. In another verse in Proverbs, it says, walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. Let me say that one more time. Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. To walk with is a Hebrew expression that means friendship. If you're with a friend and your friend doesn't care about his safety, then he's not going to care about your safety. Okay, and that's really important for you guys, especially whenever you get licenses and you can drive and you can hang out with your friends like away from your parents. If you're with someone who doesn't care about your safety, or doesn't care about their safety, they're not going to care about your safety. So I want you guys to be safe. I want you guys to be with friends who are going to not let you get into trouble or get hurt. If you have a friend who doesn't care about getting into trouble, he's not going to care if you get into trouble. Okay? So remember that. If you're with a friend who doesn't care about whenever he sins, then he's not going to care about whenever you sin. If you're with someone who doesn't care about their relationship with God, they're not going to care about your relationship with God. So hang out with people who are going to build you up as a Christian and have you, cause you to have a stronger walk with God, not a weaker walk. Andy Stanley is a pastor, I think, in Georgia, and I listened to a sermon by his a couple weeks ago. Very applicable. These I'm going to give you some guardrails. He called them guardrails, ways to stay safe in choosing friends. These are not necessarily from the Bible, but they're still very smart. They're very good to follow. So let me tell you some of these. He said, whenever you start considering behavior that you know is off limits, that's whenever you need to withdraw from that person. Okay? Whenever you are considering behavior that's off limits, that you know is bad. I was at Teen Challenge a few weeks ago, and I go down there occasionally just to help out or just to learn more about it. If you don't know, it's a ministry for people who've had like drug or alcohol problems or different kinds of addictions, and they help people get out of the addictions. It's a Christian ministry. And anyway, I run into one of my friends there from college. He had just been put there. His parents had put him in Teen Challenge a few days before. And I asked, so I wanted to talk to him. I asked what was going on. He said that it was like a drug and alcohol problem. I talked to him about whenever I got into trouble with alcohol in college. And this is also, he kind of knew about that stuff because he knew me in college. Actually, the person who had, not that I'm blaming other people for my actions, but the person who got me started drinking was his brother. And his brother had also got him started on all this, these drugs and alcohol stuff. So anyway, I'm absolutely certain that anyone who's ever got into a drinking problem or whatever, or smoking or whatever addiction you want to put out there, they started because they were hanging around people. They had friends, and that's where it began. They had friends that were bad influences, okay? And so the guardrail is whenever you start considering, not before you're doing it, but whenever you start considering doing stuff that you know is wrong, you need to get some distance from that person. Or here's another guardrail, if you don't want your parents to know the people you're hanging out with, okay? If you don't want your parents to know about them, then it's probably not a good idea for you to be hanging out with them. If you would be embarrassed for this person to be at your house because your parents would say, I don't want you around that person, you should probably not be hanging around them either. Okay, I know it's your friends and they're people you see in school, and that'll be hard. Ben and Jonathan are looking at each other. Who's here with a friend today? Anybody here with a friend? You're my friend. Awesome. When your friends' values aren't moving in the direction that you want your life's values to move in, whenever you see your friends going down a path that's going to lead to not successful, you do not want your life to follow that same path. So don't be doing the things that they're doing, because they will drag you down with them. Someone said something really smart at camp. The speaker, Scotty Gibbons was his name, I think. Remember what he said? If your friends won't go to heaven with you, meaning if they won't talk to you about stuff with God, or if they refuse to go to church with you, he said, if your friends won't go to heaven with you, don't go to hell with them. That was really smart. So here's a guardrail. Whenever you're with friends and you can't be yourself, okay? If you can't be yourself around them, then they're not someone you should probably be friends with. Whenever you say, this is the last one, but it might be most important because it's the most deceptive. When you say that you'll go somewhere with these friends, but you won't participate in what you're doing, you say, well, I'll just go and hang out, but I'm not going to do the bad stuff that you guys are doing if it's illegal or whatever. That should be a guardrail. You should not even go with those kind of people, because it's not that you do what they're doing, but if you're there whenever they do it. Let me read that verse. Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. It doesn't matter if you're being foolish with them. If something happens and their life implodes, something goes wrong, if their life explodes, you're going to be hit with the shrapnel, okay? I saw this story about an honor student, and she was stripped of her honor status because she was at a party where there was all this underage drinking going on. And people were upset because she said she was there. I don't know if this was true or not, but she said she was there to give her friends a ride home, if one of them got drunk and she didn't want him to drive. So she was going to give him a ride home. But she should not have been there in the first place, because she got caught up in all this trouble. The cops busted in, and there were drugs and alcohol at this party. She lost her honor student status. Even though she wasn't doing what they were doing, when their world exploded, she got caught in the explosion. Okay, she got hit with the shrapnel because she was in a place she shouldn't have been. So what I tell you guys, it's not that you're doing what they're doing. It's that you're there whenever they're doing it. That's what is going to turn around and bite you. So anyway, take that verse to heart. Walk with the wise and become wise. Your companion of fools suffers harm. And last, I wanted to talk to you about your best friend. And your best friend there's two ways you could look at this. And I wanted to start, who likes stories about whenever I've done something stupid? Do you guys like those stories? Yeah, there we go. One time, me and Emily, whenever we were engaged, we had just gotten engaged, and we were going to a few different places to sign up for our wedding registry, so that people could know what kind of gifts to get us. And we're walking into Walmart to set up one there. And I don't remember what we were talking about friendship, and she said something about me being her friend, and I said, we're not friends. And I got to explain because in my mind, I'm like, okay, we're engaged, so we're above friendship. Friendship doesn't apply anymore because we're something deeper than that. But in her mind, that is not the way that it works. It's not like a tiered system, but I'm still in her friend circle. I'm in her fiancé circle. I'm the only one there, but I'm also in her friend circle. And these things do not just replace each other. So it's actually very wise to look at it that way, because what I always heard growing up, and what I'm going to tell you guys, marry your best friend, okay? People can start dating. I know, every time I say that, everyone's looking at their... I forgot about that. I remember my youth pastor saying that, and I would look at my friend sitting beside me, and we'd be like, awkward. But, okay. I'm sorry about yeah. Whenever you are dating someone, and it will start off, you might be friends, you might not.
I think you got her mad at me.
Whenever you start dating someone, whether you're friends or not, that should turn into a friendship. You should have a relationship with each other where you can laugh and enjoy your life together as friends. Because lots of people date, and sometimes will even get married based on physical, attraction, and they don't have a deep relationship with each other, like an actual friendship. It's like if they weren't dating, they wouldn't be friends, and that's not in a good place to be, because over time, when you're married to someone, a friendship is what's going to go the distance. A friendship is going to work out in the long term. But anyway, marry your best friend. Yeah, you got a question?
Is that why you asked Ashley and I if we and Emily looked like friends earlier?
Yeah, because me and Emily still talk about being friends. And we're still friends, right? Okay, sometimes I mess up and she says, we're not friends anymore. And that's the end of it. But so we renew our friendship quite often. I make sure we're still friends. So anyway... that's one way. Your best friend should be your husband or wife. But there is another friend out there, and that's where I'm going to go back to the verses. Jesus is the ultimate best friend forever, right? Jesus, God, says he wants to be your friend. Okay? That's really, really cool whenever you stop and think about it. God wants to be your friend. In the Garden of Eden, whenever life was perfect, it says that God walked with Adam and Eve. And remember a few minutes ago I said in Hebrew, to say walked with it means friendship. And it says that God walked with Adam and Eve in the garden. But there's something really fishy in these verses. Jesus says, you are my friends if you do what I command. Did anyone think that sounded kind of weird whenever they heard it? Why is that weird?
Well, you don't necessarily... Okay, with human friendship,
Uh-huh.
You don't have to do something to be their friend unless they're insane.
You whenever you're picking friends, you're not going to get very far if you say, well, Dakota, you can be my friend if you do everything I say. That doesn't go very far, does it? Because it's like you're just using people or whatever. And when I read that, I'm like, I want to be like, Jesus, that's not how friendship works. You don't say you're my friend if you do what I tell you. But here's what I think Jesus means by that. In our culture, it's really popular to say that, Jesus is my friend. Jesus is my homeboy, and lots of people say they're Christians. But I didn't make that up. I heard it from other people, all right? Lots of people say they're Christians, but they don't really live lives that reflect Christianity. Is that right? Amen? So, Jesus, it's like when you look at this verse, this will show you who is actually a friend of Jesus. It's the people who are doing the things that Jesus said. And in a way, if I'm friends with Hannah number 4, no, I bumped her to, she's down to 4.
She's always over 6 in my mind.
Because I want to be her friend. So if I'm friends with Hannah 4, I'm not going to do things that she hates just to upset her. And if we're going to be friends with Jesus, we're going to do the things that He said, the way that He said to live our lives. That's how you tell if someone's actually a friend of God. Because lots of people will say that, but are their lives showing it? And then there's one more really cool thing that Jesus said. And if the worship team wants to come up, now would probably be a good time because I'm about done. Jesus said that a true friend lays down his life for his friends. And He said that right before He's about to go to the cross. We've been going through John this year, and in a couple of weeks we're going to be ready for Jesus going to the cross. That's how we started in December, and that's where we are now. So we're finally getting there, and this is one of the last things that Jesus says. A true friend lays down his life for his friends. And Jesus laid down His life for us. He took the sacrifice for our sins. And now whenever we go to heaven, we can say to Jesus, you have saved our lives. We are eternally grateful.